Right, welcome back to the Friday Brew. First video for a while, as is usually the case, but I've got my cup of tea ready, the brew, with tea bag still in. Bit of a nasty habit that I've developed since coming here. I don't know if anyone in the UK does that, well, I'm sure some do. But it wasn't something I used to do at all until coming here, and now I'm finding I'm doing it more and more. Lazy. So really, I'd say for the past month at least, I've not watched a massive amount of YouTube. So there's so many vids that maybe some of you lot have uploaded, I've just not watched them. Sorry about that. I'm sure I'll get round to it. But it's not, I'm not avoiding people, I just haven't had the time up until recently. I've watched a few, obviously, but it's been difficult. But you'll know what it's like when you start a new job, it's really, really tiring. But I tell you what, there's a couple of funny things. One direct story about this job and then an indirect one, and I'll mention them both now. So this, I think I'd only been there about a week or two or whatever it was, and it was brought to my attention that they like to have these game days as a way of bringing like all the staff together. And there's quite a lot of people that work for this company as well. And I've got to be honest, I don't mean to sound like a bit of a stuck in the mud, but I'm a bit of a, I don't know, I don't like it. I wouldn't say I don't like fun, I love having fun, but I don't really like it when you go to work and they try and force things on to try and give like team spirit. Even though it's a good thing, I appreciate it. I appreciate what they're trying to do, but not everyone's like that. Some people just want to go to work, do the job, and then get out as soon as possible. And if you can not even talk to anyone during the day, bonus. That's kind of where I'm at. I just want to go in there, get the job done, thank you for the money, see you tomorrow kind of thing. That's how I like to do things. So the whole thing of getting together and teamwork and bonding, and I just, oh God, not really. Now, to be fair, you can opt out. You don't have to do it. And it was made very clear, like when the email went round. It was like, if you don't want to do it, it's fine. But if you do want to do it, let this person know and they'll put you into teams and all that kind of stuff. So, to be fair, they do give you a choice. I guess they have to, really. They can't really force it on you. But then it's that dilemma, isn't it? Because if you choose not to, and what if you're the only person in a building of like 100 and something that doesn't want to do it, and you just feel like an absolute idiot? So I wasn't going to do it. But then I thought, well, I'm a new member of staff, maybe I should. So I ended up doing it. So what we had was a game of Clue, or Cluedo, but they call it Clue. And so it's like kind of, you know, like detective work, basically. And what I thought what it was going to be was the whole building was going to be like, have something acted out for them. Like, and you had to sort of figure out who did things, and you'd be going around different parts of rooms and looking at clues, trying to figure out like the murder weapon and all that kind of stuff, and interviewing suspects and asking them questions. But it wasn't that elaborate at all. It was basically everyone who wanted to play was put into groups of maybe, I guess it depended on the size, but like 6, 7, 8 different people, and you'd go into a different room and you'd play your own individual game. That's what ended up happening, so it was a bit of an anticlimax. But in fact, before I tell you a little bit about that, so it made me laugh because it started at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, right? And you know, as soon as it got to like a few minutes to 3, loads of people start like closing down their computers. You can hear like paperwork being shuffled and people getting up and walking around. And everyone headed on over to the very corner of the room. And because I'm, you know, just a new member of staff, I'd not experienced this before. But this is the norm, apparently. So what they were all doing is they were going over and getting nachos, which was kind of put on by the company. Cheesy nachos. You can have a choice of the nachos with hot cheese, or there was like the kind of like it's not quite a salad dressing, what's the word I'm looking for? Like a spicy kind of dressing to put on. And I'm not a spicy kind of person, so forget it. So I went for the cheese dip, the warm cheese hot sauce over the nachos. And you're given this like, or you had to get it, I guess, just like kind of a plastic tray. So you can take your hand out and put it into the nachos, put them into the thing. But it was so small that you could only really fit in about 10 nachos. So I tried to get a few more in, kind of cramming them in, because I'm greedy. So I did that, and then put the hot sauce on. And then right next to it was like a big kind of sort of fridge that someone had brought in, and it was full of alcohol. Can you believe it? 3 o'clock in the afternoon, at work, and everyone's having beers. The bottle openers are there and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, is this real? Is this actually happening? But yeah, I wasn't dreaming it. Drinking at work. And I did actually think, I don't mean to sound like, you know, I don't know, like a goody two-shoes or anything, because I'm really not. But I did think, hang on a minute, people are just stocking up on beers here. Most people, I imagine, are going to be driving home. So, is this right? I didn't say anything, but I just thought it. I thought it's a bit weird, isn't it? So, anyway, I guess, you know, nobody was forced the alcohol, but it was there if you wanted it. I had it, obviously. Don't worry, I didn't let you down. I had 2. Went back for a second one. And but I was walking back, so it was alright, because I just live around the corner, really. So it was nice and handy, so I didn't have to drive. So anyway, so that was a big surprise. So I had the... Oh, and when I was walking back, even though I only had 2, honestly, I was so lightheaded, I felt like I was just like, zigzagging all over the shop. It was bizarre. But anyway, so that was that. I had the drink, took the drinks and the nachos into the little room, and there was what they wanted to do was get a load of people who didn't really know each other. And of course I didn't, well, actually as it happened, I knew one of them, but being a new member of staff, I clearly didn't know all of them but one. And the one person I did know was someone I used to work with at my old job, which is just bizarre, bumping into those. And I've got to say this, she's a nice person, don't get me wrong, but when I used to work with her, which was 4 years ago apparently, when she said 4 years, I was like, bloody hell, it seems like yesterday. But anyway, 4 years ago, she had a bit of meat on her. She wasn't thin, but she wasn't like enormous or anything, but you know, a bit of meat on her. But in those 4 years, my God, I mean, she's just ballooned. Now, obviously, it doesn't mean she's not a nice person. She's a very nice person. But it was like, I just couldn't believe it. I was like, Jesus, I mean, I've put on a bit of weight. You know, I need to lose at least a stone, probably 1.5 stones, to get back to like a normal kind of weight. But I couldn't believe it. It took me by surprise. And of course, I didn't say anything to her, but I kind of wanted to. Because when she come up to me as well, this sounds terrible, I don't mean it to be nasty. Because like I say, I like her, she's a nice person. I want to make that clear. But it's like, you know when people get so kind of big, and their eyes kind of go to the back of their head, and their cheeks kind of come out a bit. It was like, bloody hell. I hope she's not watching this. That'd be me fired. But anyway, again, nice person. So we all went into this room, and what they wanted to do, and we had a notification of this in the email by like the team leader, because each group had like a team leader, and they wanted like an icebreaker. So they wanted like where you tell 2 truths and 1 lie, and the rest of the team have got to figure out the truth, basically, or the lie, I should say. And so I went with, and I've written them down here because I'd forget them if I didn't write them down. So I went with 3 things, we all had to, and mine was, number 1, despite the accent, I'm actually American. That was the first one, so they had to kind of decipher whether I was lying or telling the truth. The second one was I've been playing the guitar for 25 years. It's technically just over, but we'll round it off, 25. And then the third one was I had 2 trials at, and I used the word soccer, because, you know, in America, at soccer clubs, which, you know, is true. AFC Bournemouth, kind of true. AFC Bournemouth, I went for the trial, and Plymouth, I should have went. I was invited, but I didn't go because it was too far to travel, and I was lazy. Even back then, too lazy. I could have been a professional footballer, and I just pissed it away. Ridiculous. But nonetheless, it's kind of half true, the Plymouth thing. I was invited, I just didn't go. But, so there was that. I'm counting that as a truth. And some of them were really struggling with it because they thought, oh, well, maybe he was born in America, but he moved to the UK and he's moved back. But technically he's still American. So some were kind of wondering whether that happened. And then others were like, he's too young, which I took as a compliment. He can't be playing the guitar for 25 years, one of the women said. He doesn't look old enough. So thank you very much. That was very nice. But unfortunately, it is true. And then the 2 trials they did believe, even though, again, I'm like, you know, 1.5 stones at least out of shape. But they were like, yeah, I can probably believe that one. So anyway, so we played that game and everyone kind of had their truths and their lies that we all kind of had to decipher. And that was that. And then we played the actual game, and basically it was just, we were all handed these cards, and then we'd go around like in the table, and or go around the table, and people would say, like, ask questions like, is it so-and-so with the murder weapon of this, and did it take place in this event, on the stairwell, or was it in the dining room, or, you know, all that kind of stuff. And if the 3 cards that you had, that you were given randomly at the start, if they matched, you kind of sort of said yes and no. And it's a bit complicated, really. I've got to be honest, it threw me. So I was kind of winging it as I was going along. But it was a bit of fun, I guess, and we had a bit of a laugh, and it went on for about, well, in fact, almost till 5 o'clock. So from 3 to 5, pretty much, and that was that. And then it was a case of get back at your desk and go home. So it was a good way to waste 2 hours, really. So I'm glad that I did it in the end. But, and the alcohol as well, I still can't believe that. That's unbelievable. I wish I had one now, but got the tea instead. And then a few days ago, another thing that happened, this made me laugh. This is work related because it was on the way back from work. So I was on the way back from work and I was really hungry. I was really hungry and I was in the mood specifically this is the reason why I stopped off at this place called CVS. And CVS is kind of like a, what's the best comparison? It's like a low-grade Boots, maybe. Low grade. So they sell food, but the onus isn't on the food there, but they do have that as well. You know, like the essentials, like if you need a pint of milk or something, or if you want some crisps or chips, as it's called over here. Or maybe they've got some, like, you know, shower gel, deodorant, some makeup, if you're into that kind of thing. Maybe those as well. So, yeah, that kind of stuff, pet supplies, but it's quite low grade. It's not the cheapest of the cheapest, but it's quite low stuff. You definitely wouldn't do your shopping there. It doesn't have enough there to do that. But it's like a sort of a couple of grades up from like a convenience corner store. It's that kind of thing, really. A low grade Boots, like I say. But what I'd saw or seen going back about 2 or 3 months ago, they've got these new crisps or chips in there. They're made by Lay's, which is Walker's in the UK. It's the same people. And they're beer and cheese. And I tried them randomly, going back, like I say, 2 or 3 months back, and I really liked them. So when I was just in the mood, it just randomly kind of came over me. And I thought, I've got to stop off. So I did. I stopped off at this CVS, and I went in there, and I took in there a bottle of water, because it's a hot day, and I had a bottle of water. I should have just left it behind, but I took it with me. And so when I went into the store, I picked up a basket, as you do, and I put the water bottle in there because I didn't want to carry it around in the other hand. So it just makes sense, right? You got your basket, put the water bottle in there, got my beer and cheese crisps, put them in there, and got a couple of other things, probably junk food related, and that was it. And then went up to the checkout, put my basket on there, and the woman starts making small talk, as you'd expect, and then she's scanning everything through, and as I'm talking, she comes up with the price at the end, like $25 or whatever it was. Fine, not a problem, use my debit card on that. And then it was only after I got out, in fact, I got home and I looked, I was taking everything out of the bag, like the crisps and all that kind of stuff, and I took the water bottle out, and I thought, and my wife was there as well, I went, do you know what? I said, I hope, jokingly, I said, I hope she didn't charge me for this, because it's in the bag, I completely forgot about it. And I looked at the receipt, and she charged me, the woman in the shop, for the water bottle, which incidentally, I should have said at the start, was a quarter full water bottle, which I'd been drinking, which is so hot. So I took it in with me, put it in the basket, and she scanned it. What an absolute idiot. Why couldn't she, when she saw it was a quarter full, went, sorry, did you bring this in with you? Or are you actually buying a quarter full bottle of water? And she didn't even think about it, and she charged me. And all right, it was a couple of dollars, big deal. But although, saying that, it was a big deal. I was annoyed about it. Not annoyed to the point where I was going to go back, like the next day or anything, and go, oh, by the way, you charged me $2 for this water bottle, and it was mine. But it was just really frustrating. I couldn't believe it. I'm such a tight-fisted bugger with money. Definitely got the Scottish part of me there. Just ridiculous. So, yeah, I just couldn't believe it. But not just did she charge me the $2.25 or whatever it was, but there was an extra, like, 40 cents charge for, like, what was the thing on there? It was something like a recycling thing, whatever that was to do with. I don't know. It's bizarre. So I was charged almost $3 for a bottle of water, which was a quarter full, because I'd bought it elsewhere 2 or 3 days ago. Unbelievable. Couldn't believe it. So I think the moral of the story is, if that ever happens to me or you in the future, don't put it in the basket. Or if you do, then remember when you get to the checkout to take it out. But really, she should have thought. Because if I was working there and someone had that in their basket, a quarter bottle full of water, or a quarter full of water, I should say, that I'd stop and I'd say, sorry, did you get this elsewhere? Or now apparently, and I have seen this happen before, but my wife did say, to be fair, what they probably thought is that you'd bought it there and you'd drank some of it. And because that happens, I've seen that happen. I don't know if that's an American thing or what. I've never seen it happen in the UK, but I have seen people do that before. They'll open like a pack of crisps or a bar of chocolate, and they'll start to eat it, or they'll give it to their kids or something, and then they'll get to the checkout and it's like half of it's left, but they'll still pay for it, so they're not stealing it. So that does happen over here. I'm not sure of the legalities, whether they should be, but I've definitely seen it happen. So there we go. I was charged for a bottle of water, which was already mine. Unbelievable. So let's move on to what I was going to talk about a topic. In fact, I will. It might make the video go on a little bit more, but I'm not going to talk about this for too long. But it's the topic of playing video games on a lower difficulty setting. I'm not knocking them down a notch or two. I'm just going in at the default, which is usually kind of middle, isn't it? Middle for diddle. You know, it's kind of you might have a bit of a challenge in some parts, but for the most part, it should be quite straightforward. It's relatively easy, average difficulty, and more I'm doing that these days. But it's not because I can't do games in a harder setting. You know, there's a lot of people around about my age and older, and some obviously a bit younger, and I hear them regularly on Twitter, on YouTube, or in person, and they'll say things like, oh, I can't really play on the harder settings anymore, my reflexes aren't as good as what they used to be, and I just can't do it. Now, I'm not being funny, that's not the case for me. I can still do it. You know, it was only on my last vlog, or the one before maybe, where I think I was talking about Call of Duty Modern Warfare Remaster on the PS4, and I finished it on the veteran mode, got all the trophies for it, and yeah, one or two of the levels were pretty hard, pretty challenging. I'd originally completed it on veteran back on the 360 10 years ago or so, but yeah, this was just like a couple of months back, so I completed it on the harder setting, so I can do it. It's not that I'm scared of doing it, it's not that I find it overly challenging, but I guess what I do find is that I find it quite stressful. And as I get older, and this has just happened in the last few weeks, I'm starting to think, well, why do I want to put myself through that stress, that hassle, that inconvenience, that anger, which does happen from level to level, depending on the game? Why do I want to do that? So I'm just going to go in there, play the game on not the easiest setting, because then it will be too cheap, but just the default setting, medium, average difficulty, and just experience the storyline. It'll be quite straightforward. There may be one or two challenging parts, but for the most part, it'll be pretty easy, like that, pretty straightforward. And so that's kind of what I do these days. It's what I've done, as I say, for these two games, which I'm going to show you in a little bit. And it's not like it cheapened the experience. I still had fun. I still enjoyed it. And arguably, I probably enjoyed it more, because even though there was a few testing times where I had to replay levels, it wasn't actually that bad. Whereas, obviously, when you're playing on veteran level or the hardest difficulty, then you're regularly, for the most part, replaying levels and restarting checkpoints and all the rest of it. And I guess I just don't really want to do that anymore. But it's just weird how it's just happened. It's just like this switch has just gone on, or off for that matter. But it's a good thing, I think. Look at that thing around the tea. That's annoying me. Easily annoyed. And this tea's getting a little bit cold now, but I'm still going to drink it because I'm a warrior. So yeah, I don't know if anyone else is the same when it comes to games. Maybe you just have always really gone in on the average difficulty, or maybe you want that challenge and you want it to be the hardest it can be. And if it's too challenging, you can always lower it, can't you? Or start the game again. Or if you finish it on an average difficulty level, maybe you really like the story, and if you want to play it again, then maybe you can push it up a notch or two and go that little bit higher in terms of difficulty. But then again, there's the people who like achievements and trophies, achievement hunters, trophy hunters, and it's that sense of satisfaction and bragging rights, let's face it. Even me at my age, I do still, embarrassingly, I do still sometimes look at my friends list on like the PlayStation especially, and I look to see what they've got, and if I've got something they haven't got, even at my age, 29 plus 11, I'm still like, oh Jesus, you know, I'm still kind of bragging about it, thinking, I've got that and you haven't, and that makes me better, which is completely childish, and it doesn't make me better at all. It just means that I'm a bit of a loser, really, for trying to get it when they don't care about it. I'm stressing out, this is the thing, I'm stressing out, doing all these like veteran levels, getting these trophies and stuff, and they're having the time of their life, the life of Riley, just chilling out, playing the game, finishing it, experiencing the same game that I have, but with less stress. So maybe they're winning. So, but I've started to do that now. But yeah, I'm curious if any of you lot watching, if you do that, have you just started like me, just to take it easy? And it's not because, like I say, you can't do it. I can do it. It's just I'm choosing just to relax a little bit more. I guess it's that kind of new me when it comes to being a gamer. And I touched upon it a couple of months ago, I think, in my last vlog, about the whole kind of, you know, gaming burnout, how I had experienced it, going back really last year more than this year. And yeah, everything's just changing for the better. You know, I'm playing games more, I'm enjoying them, I'm buying games and then I'm playing them, I'm not really stocking up on them. You know, I don't mind having big quantities of games, that's not a problem. That's maybe what I didn't cover in my last vid, I didn't make that clear. I'm not opposed, me even, having loads of games in the future. It's just what I want to do is I want to buy them, play them, and then get them. I don't want to have a load for me where I haven't played them, but it's just a personal thing. You know, I love watching people's pickup vids or collection vids, and I don't care if they've not played them or not. That it's their money, it's their life. They can do what they want to do. It's just for me. So maybe this whole difficulty thing is just, like I say, part of a new me and wanting just to chill out a little bit more and enjoy it. Maybe gaming for a while, for me personally, it turned into a bit of a chore maybe, but now I'm back to enjoying it like I always did. So that is that. Now let's move on to what I've been watching. Just the one movie really that I'm going to talk about, because otherwise the video will go on for 3 hours. And we're trying to get rid of those vids these days. If it's any more than an hour, I will be editing this without question. Ideally, it's going to be sort of 45-50 minutes. It might be a bit less, but there or thereabouts. So I've been watching, quite recently, Fantastic Beasts, The Crimes of Grindelwald. And it's a sequel, of course, to Fantastic Beasts and Where to Find Them, which came out in 2016. And that's the main problem I had with this, actually, is that that film came out in 2016. This one comes out in 2019. Or was it, well, late 2018, I guess, wasn't it? It's only just now I've kind of watched it. But still, there was like a 2.5 year gap. And that, for me, was the problem, because that's a considerable amount of time. And what I found, maybe it's just a personal thing, but what I found while watching this Crimes of Grindelwald is that all these characters were being introduced or reintroduced, and because it's been a couple of years, 2.5 years, whatever it's been since the last one came out, I'd actually forgotten about them. I'd forgotten their relevance, I'd forgotten their roles, I'd forgotten what some of them did, and it made it hard to keep up with what was going on early doors in the movie. Now, so what I'd suggest is, if you've not seen The Crimes of Grindelwald, and maybe you want to, and you have seen Fantastic Beasts, if you watched it going back 2 years ago or more, watch it again, and then immediately, either the same day or the next day, or a few days or a week later, then watch Crimes of Grindelwald. It'll make more sense. So maybe it's just me, I don't know. But I found it hard to keep up with what was going on. That was my main criticism, really. Other than that, I think, I mean, it was quite slow. It was a slow-burning movie, but it absolutely did pick up right towards the end. I'd say the last kind of quarter of the movie, it started to pick up quite considerably, and it was quite enjoyable as a result. So there's a lot of Easter eggs, I think is the phrase that I'm looking for. A lot of Easter eggs, if you're a massive Harry Potter fan, going back to the original books and the original movies. I'm a casual fan, I've got to be honest. You know, I hadn't watched any of the movies or read any of the books until I came to America, and then I watched all the movies in quite a sort of a fast time. And then we went to the cinema to watch The Deathly Hallows. Was that in 2 parts? I think it was. So we went and watched both of those. When was that? 2010, maybe? 2010. So, yeah, whilst I've been in America, we watched those. So I didn't really get into it. I knew of it in the UK, but I didn't get into it until I came here. And even then, I'm not a massive fan, but I enjoy it. I appreciate it for what it is, and it's fun. I kind of buy into it. I quite like it. But yeah, but even for someone like me, I started to notice some things that were going on, some Easter eggs. And to my wife, I was like, oh, that's a nice little touch. And she's really into it, much more than I am. So she picked up on a lot of these things. So apparently, yeah, if you're a massive fan, there'll be a lot of nods to the books, to the movies, and you might get a kick out of that. But I only picked up on a few being a casual fan. So despite it being all right, I know the critics' reception wasn't too amazing, and the viewers, like, you know, you and I, when it comes to reviewing things on YouTube and, you know, Google or Twitter, wherever for that matter, it seems to have quite a lukewarm sort of reception. So we're kind of talking maybe 5 or 6 out of 10. I'd probably say maybe a 7, and maybe that's a bit generous. It was a slow burner, but it did pick up. And I think I did read something quite recently, that there's going to be like 3 more movies. I'm not sure if that's true, but that's what the video that I watched on Twitter anyway, someone said that. So whether they're right, whether they're wrong, I don't know. But there's clearly definitely going to be another one at least. So that'll be really interesting to see if and when that comes out. Hopefully it won't be another 2 or 3 year gap, because again, I guess I'll be struggling in trying to keep up with the movie. But yeah, overall, I thought it was pretty good. And but you know, we live in that era now, don't we? Where like everyone was slagging it off on Twitter and YouTube. Where if something's, I don't know, if someone of importance, like a really big player in the YouTube field or wherever it may be, if someone starts to say it's bad, and if they've got millions or hundreds of thousands of subscribers, it's like everyone else starts to say it's bad. And the ones who like it don't want to say they like it because they'll look uncool to their mates and stuff. And I just don't get that. If you like something, say you like it. Stick by your guns. You know, be a person of your, have the courage of your conviction to say, I like it. Even if someone turns around and says, well, I don't. Well, good for you. I did. So I quite liked it. I didn't think it was amazing. I'm not backing down already. I didn't think it was amazing, but I thought it was decent. It was slow, it was a bit confusing, but it did pick up, and I do like the Harry Potter universe. So for me, I thought it was alright, 7 out of 10. And that's connected really with the next thing I want to talk about this whole thing about, you know, having an opinion and it not being the right one. And it's what I'm currently listening to. Now, I'm not going to show an album or show anything physically. I'm going to save that for the music vid, and I know I do keep threatening to make a music vid. I will soon. It might be this month. It's probably going to be next. But when I do return with them, I would like them to be every month, like clockwork. But no promises. But I would like that to happen, like the return of the music vids. And if you like your music vids, then please feel free to watch them by all means. I've done loads in the past. I've just not done any, or maybe I've done one in the last year, which is ridiculous. But it'll be there. It's extra content, isn't it? If you want to watch it, feel free. If you don't want to watch it, obviously you don't have to. Although maybe you should be made to watch everything I do. Quite frankly. But yeah, maybe next month we'll do that. But the song, the artist that I want to talk about is Noel Gallagher and his High Flying Birds. And the song which has just been released called Black Star Dancing. And I love it. I think it's brilliant. And what you get on Twitter, what I've seen, is you get people who are really hardcore old Oasis. They love the old stuff, and I do too. It's brilliant. You know, I loved it back in the day as a teenager in the 90s. It was amazing. I love that whole scene. With music as well, I like to branch out. And I don't know if that's part of getting older. You broaden your horizons a little bit. I'm not sure what it is. But then again, with music, I've always been like that. I've always had quite an eclectic taste. So I haven't confined myself to liking certain things. But, as I was going to touch upon, people on Twitter loving the old Oasis, they don't want to see Noel Gallagher release anything which is dissimilar in any way whatsoever to the Oasis stuff. So when this comes out, Black Star Dancing, and much like his last album, you know, it's kind of got dance elements, club, disco elements with this song, and people just don't like it, and they'll be very fast and quick to tell you they don't like it on Twitter too. And if you do like it, they're also quick to tell you that you're wrong for liking what you like. And it's just like, oh, just bugger off. I like what I want to like, you square. Don't tell me what to do. But just people, I mean, I'm not telling them what to do, although I am. I think you should broaden your horizons. You know, I don't personally want to see Noel Gallagher releasing the same stuff he was releasing back in the 90s. I don't want to see that. The odd track every now and again, that's fine. I want to see things changing, new things put out there. I want to see artists grow and expand and explore different things. And that's what you get with Noel, and that's what you don't get with Liam. Liam Gallagher, his album sounded like an Oasis album, really, for the most part, albeit maybe a slightly more mature one, because, you know, what is he now, 46, 47, whatever he is? So, and that's fine. And there's a new Liam Gallagher album coming out later this year. I haven't even heard it, no one has, but I can guarantee it's going to sound like Liam Gallagher. It's not going to push the boat out a little bit. And I can appreciate that for what it is. I bought the last Liam album, I thought it was really good. I did an unboxing for it on my channel, and I'm sure I'll do one for his next album. I can appreciate that, but I just like it when people take risks, when people do something a little bit different. And it helps when you've got an eclectic taste as well, because I listen to all sorts of stuff from all different eras, all different backgrounds, and I encourage others to do that as well. Broaden your horizons. So anyway, this song is really good. Black Star Dancing. Like I said, it's got kind of dance elements, definitely a disco kind of vibe, and I love the video. The video's set in it's sort of what is like a working man's club. So very kind of northern, I think, really. It reminds me of being a kid, like going in there with my nan and granddad and auntie and uncles and stuff, like smoke-filled rooms, very dark kind of, you know, rooms, furniture with brown, very 70s, or in my case 80s when I was there as a kid. And yeah, the smell of alcohol, people drinking everywhere, the sound of laughter and jokes being told and all that kind of stuff. Maybe risque stuff that you possibly couldn't get away with today for the most part. But nonetheless, it was just like a community thing, wasn't it? Communities all bonding, getting together after work, having a pint or 2 or 10. And so the video's kind of set in that scenario, and it just takes me back. And also there's Bernard Manning, a comedian who died, I think, in 2007, and he's introducing Noel Gallagher and his High Flying Birds onto the stage. So it's got footage there, real footage taken from him, but then just as he's introducing Noel Gallagher, it cuts away from him. So I think they must have got like a voice double maybe to do that bit, but you can't tell. It sounds very authentic and real. Well, I say sounds authentic. Obviously, it isn't authentic, but it sounds like Bernard Manning, even though it must be someone else. So yeah, I really like the song. What I'll do is I'll put a link in the description box and check it out, or just type it into Google and see what you think of it. I think it's great. I love it, and I'm really looking forward to his album, which I think will be maybe probably next year now. Liam's album's this year, Noel's will be next year, and I think Noel is releasing 3 EPs in between now and the next album. So again, I'm sure I'll buy them. And then last but not least, what I want to talk about are a couple of games I've been playing. Again, as I touched upon before, I'm playing them on a, not an easy, the middle, the average difficulty setting. And yeah, enjoying them as a result. Also, that's the other thing, you're finishing them much quicker as well. That's what I'm finding. You know, when the difficulty setting is much higher, it can take you maybe a few days to get into, or to finish them, or maybe a week or two, you know, if you can only play games, you know, once every few days or whatever. But with these games, I've finished them quite quickly, which is good. So the first one, and I've written a few notes on here because I never bloody remember with my rubbish memory. Ask me what happened. Ask me what I was wearing on the 15th of June 1991, and I'll tell you. Ask me what I did last week. Mind blown. Can't remember. So yeah, the first game that I played, they're both on the Xbox 360, and they're both relatively early, especially this one. 2007 release, so a very early game. And it's called Time Shift. Now, so it looks good, but not that much better, not really, than the latter kind of Xbox and PS2 games, because of the time when it came out, like I say. But it still looks pretty decent. Now, it's the premise is, it's been done 1,000 times. You've got this evil scientist, I think his name is Aidan Crone. Let's have a look. Yeah, Aidan Crone. And you've basically got to don your time suit here, and save the day, essentially. That's what it is. It's been done 1,000,000 times, like I say, but it's still not too bad to play it, to be honest. Now, so you've got like 3 main features in the game. You can slow down time, you can rewind, and you can stop time. And at various points in the game, it's a little bit like Singularity, if anyone played that. Elements of Halo as well, with some of the weaponry, like sticky grenades and all that kind of stuff. But a definite nod towards Singularity in the fact that you can move things around, build things that weren't there, rewind time, stop time. So there's like maybe propellers going and stuff. So obviously you can't walk through a propeller, a little bit dangerous. So you stop time, and then all of a sudden you can walk through because you can walk through the gap. And then then your energy bar kind of goes down, and then you wait for it to go back up again, and then you can stop time and move forward to the next segment and rinse and repeat. So it's basic. Although that said, there was a couple of really tricky parts where you've got to figure out what to do. And of course, once you do it, you're like, oh, that was so simple. How didn't I think of that? So it's nothing massively challenging, but maybe 1 or 2 things may temporarily kind of stump you a little bit. But yeah, so I thought I enjoyed that, even though it's been done 1,000,000 times before. Now, despite it essentially being a first-person shooter, there's an element of open worldness to this, where you can get into like a quad bike, there's a tank, there's a standard kind of car, and you can drive around. You can go past these settlements where there's like enemy bases, and you can choose to engage or not. Some of them you have to, it's part of the storyline, but others are just there, like they're secondary things. Maybe you can just, if you want to, you can stop by and blow the place up, and maybe you need to stock up, for example, on ammunition, so it's a good opportunity to do that. So I'd say the choice of weapons is really good. You get your standard kind of machine guns and your shotguns. Shotguns are always good in any game. You know, that satisfaction, I should say, that you get from blowing them away is really good. There's also one weapon in particular called the Hellfire, and it's a combo of a flamethrower, and I think you get this weapon like 3/4 of the way through the game. So it's like part of it is a flamethrower, and then at any stage you can switch that off, and it turns into like sort of like a grenade launcher where the enemies blow up on like impact, and which is really satisfying, especially the flamethrower. Just going around torching people to like a crisp, burning them to a crisp is really satisfying, I've got to say. So, and that's another thing I'll say about the game. It's really violent. Really violent. There's a lot of gore, the heads and stuff being blown off, and you see it as well. A lot of attention to detail, albeit in a very sort of 2007 way. But so that took me by surprise. What I'll say as well is the game, I'm not going to reveal any spoilers, but the game ends on a little bit of a cliffhanger, in the sense that it's, to me at least, when it finished, it was very evident that a sequel was in the works, in the pipeline, but it never happened, at least to my knowledge. So maybe because this didn't really take off, maybe it just didn't sell enough, I'm not sure. I mean, I don't know many people who have talked about this in the past, so possibly it slipped under the radar for a lot of people. So what I'll say is give it a go. It's really cheap. Bear in mind, it is an early 2007, as I say, Xbox 360 game, or PS3 if you choose to get it for that. And so yeah, it's an early release. So bear in mind the graphics aren't going to be amazing. They're decent, they're passable, but it's kind of a crossover from the previous gen. So yeah, the last game I've been playing, now I finished this, I finished it yesterday. Again, another one I played on the default mode. It's Alan Wake. It's an Xbox 360 exclusive. I think it came on the PC, but console exclusive anyway. And yeah, this game is really, really good. I was going to say boxed and complete. The disc is still in the Xbox. In case you're wondering, Outrun is a digital game, so you don't need a disc for that one. So yes, now this is a psychological action thriller, as it says on the front. The one thing that I'll say about this game is, and I don't know why, but it really took me by surprise how exceedingly creepy this game is. Honestly, I don't know what I was expecting. I mean, I knew it was a thriller, I knew there was a few kind of sort of, not so much jump scares, but I knew there was something kind of weird about it. But it's not until playing it that it really reminded me, I mean, the best comparison I can use is like a Silent Hill. It's got very kind of eerie Silent Hill elements to it, walking around the town and stuff, and talking to some of the people who live there, the members of the community. Some of them are just bizarre and wacky, and but yeah, I just wasn't expecting that. I thought it was just going to be a straightforward kind of adventure game, but no, very kind of Silent Hilly, if you like. So if you love those games, I'm sure you're going to like this. So yeah, the basic premise on this one is that you're a writer, you play Alan Wake, and you go on a holiday or a vacation, call it what you will, I guess dependent on where you are. And yeah, to, does it say on the back? I can't remember. Bright Falls, I think that's the town. And yeah, so you go there with your wife, Alice. Alice mysteriously, kind of mysteriously, it's sort of explained what happens, disappears. I don't want to reveal too many spoilers, but this is explained straight away, so it's not that much of a spoiler, because if you play the game, you'll see it straight away. She's kind of seemingly sort of taken away by these dark forces, hence the supernatural element to the game. And then you've kind of got to figure out, you know, where she is and try and get her back and all that. One of your main weapons is your torch, or again, depending on where you are, your flashlight. There's 3 different strengths of torches that you can pick up, and the higher it is, the longer the beam, the more powerful the beam. And that beam, when you shine it into the enemies, which are kind of like the zombies, I guess. I think they're called like the Fallen or the darkness. And when you shine it into them, it prevents them from coming anywhere near you because they don't like the light. So you can shine that, it buys you some time, and also it doubles up as kind of weakening their armour, if you like. So then if you've got a shotgun, or a hunting rifle, or a standard handgun, or flare guns, and the flare guns are really good as well, because they cause mass explosions, and they've got the light, so it's kind of a double whammy there of goodness when it comes to killing the enemy. So yeah, you shine the torch into their, or the flashlight into their faces, or any part of their body, and it can help chip away at their armour, or it can buy you some time in running away, because sometimes you have to run away. Maybe you've not got any ammunition left, for example. And that can be a little bit kind of exhilarating and a little bit jumpy, borderline jump scares when that happens, because you've got to get away, and you can only sprint for a certain amount of time before obviously he starts to sort of walk, because he's out of breath, so you've got to wait for the bar to sort of fill up a little bit. I don't think you see the bar, but in the background it's kind of filling back up, and then you can sprint again. So it's quite tense in places. So yeah, there's flashbangs that you can use, and they can kill the enemies. There's flares that you can throw, and or just hold, or just drop, or whatever. And then again, because of the light, that kind of scares the enemies off. There's certain designated areas where you can turn on like generators, which generate light. So as soon as that happens, then the enemies won't come anywhere near you, or in some cases they just disappear. Maybe it kills them. And there's quick time events as well. I'm not a massive fan of quick time events, to be honest, but there's not too many. There's a few annoying ones where you've kind of got to repeatedly tap A or B to push something out of the way. You've got the bats that can fly around. They're a bloody nuisance, but you can kill those, burn them with your torch flashlight. So I like that. So yeah, it's a very tense game. It really is. I did find a couple of elements of the game quite frustrating, and all of them really revolved around the supernatural element, where things like the poltergeists, where things are flying around and they're hurtling towards you, like the ghosts will pick up like trucks or other objects and they'll throw them at you and you've kind of got to dodge them, or maybe go into like a well-concealed hiding place to get out of the way, because if they hit you they can really take off a substantial amount of energy. So those were quite annoying in places. Again, with your torch or flashlight you can focus on them and blow them up, so it's not like you can't do anything about it. You can. But yeah, I just found those elements kind of frustrating. The ending, again, without revealing anything, because some of you may not have played this, I found very confusing, really. And I'm not even sure, that there may be, don't take my word for this, but I'm not even sure if an official explanation was given. It's almost as if it's one of those games where it's up to you, it's left to you to decipher what you think happened, or what you think is going on. Now, I do know at the time a sequel was going to come out, and then they didn't end up doing it. But I did watch a video the other day on YouTube where the developer or the writer of the game, I think his name's Sam Lake, obviously rhymes with Alan Wake as well, so maybe that was deliberate, I don't know. He did say, I mean, this video was from 2 years ago, but still, bearing in mind the game came out in 2010, so 2 years ago, whatever, it was still relatively recent. And he said, well, the franchise isn't dead. He still wants to do it. He still wants to make a sequel, but they've just got other projects. He works for, it's Remedy, isn't it, who make this? So yeah, they've got a lot of other games that they're working on and other ideas. But he does want to do Alan Wake 2 eventually. So yeah, I'm not going to reveal any spoilers, but it was a weird ending. It was a weird one where you kind of think, what? How did that happen? And different kind of things which happen along the way. It makes you question kind of what's going on. Is it happening? Is it not happening? Is it real? Is it real? Is it a dream? Is it supernatural forces? Is it not? Is it whatever? It makes you think as to what's going on. I've got my own theory, but I don't want to reveal it. But for spoilers, like I say. But I am looking forward to the second if they do it. But yeah, so 2010. It still looks really, really good. It really does. I mean, as ever, when you're playing these 360 games, you look around the edges of the games and they're kind of jaggedy for the most part. Some of the textures aren't very good. But really, if you're watching, from a distance at least, it still looks very, very passable. Some of the effects are really nice. The playability's quite solid. There's a few kind of moments in the heat of the moment where it got a little bit kind of too much. But that's more because a lot was going on in this on screen at that time, with a lot of enemies and zombies, if they even are zombies. The Fallen, like I say, is what I think they're called. But whatever they're called, they're a nuisance because they're coming at you with their axes and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, I really like it. It's a good game. It's I was going to say a classic. Is it a classic? I don't know. I think if you've got an Xbox 360, you really should be playing this. And if you've missed out on it, well, obviously it's never too late. It came out in 2010 and I'm only just playing it now. So 2 lots of DLC have been released. As I say, I'm 3/4 of the way through the first one. I don't think the storyline has any real impact on the main story. It's just kind of extra stuff to do. So it's not like you've got to play the DLC. It doesn't really tell you anything new. It just sort of expands on maybe some things which have previously happened, or in Alan Wake's kind of world, where he is now, kind of thing, as a result of the game sort of ending. So, but yeah, and it's pretty throwaway so far. I think the DLC probably lasts around about an hour, the first part. Like I say, 45 minutes into it. So it's not, I've not played it and thought, oh my God, it's told me anything that I needed to know, or which is like a big reveal. It's told me nothing new. It just seems as if it's almost a bit of a cash cow. They released it just to get a bit more money. So yeah, that's that. So anyway, there we go. Until my next vid, which will be very, very soon, a pickup vid. It may even go up before this one. I don't know. It depends when I record it. But it's going to be soon anyway. Then thank you for watching, and I'll see you later.